Hi, this is Erin from Bossy Bee. Welcome to my channel. The plan for this video is to experiment with the Solid Solutions Epoxy Resin Pigment Paste Collection, focusing on their classic colours. I'm going to make some colour swatch sample pieces to see how pigmented the pastes are. And then I'm going to use the paste to create some striking home decor pieces. So the Solid Solutions range of epoxy resin pigment pastes come in three categories. So you can get fluorescent, metallic, and then these, which are the classics. So that first colour there is chartreuse green, then cotton candy, bright yellow, carbon black, red, ocean blue, and titanium white. They're packed in 30ml jars, and I love this because you don't then have the issue with the product drying out and getting, so impossible to use, which we've all experienced with different pigment pastes over time. And they are very economical. So at the moment, they are on the Solid Solutions website for $4.95 per tub. And it's Australian. So it's a really good deal. Now, these have a little seal over the top of them to keep them fresh. And so what I'm going to do is I'll go through and remove the seal from all of them and set them up. And then we can get started having a look and seeing how they work, what their features are, and what they're like. I'm using the Solid Solutions epoxy resin, which is a casting resin, a 1-to-1 ratio, and I'm putting a small amount into each of the little cups, and I'm just going to blend in. Hopefully I'm going to get a similar amount for each, because I want to create a set of samples. So this mold that I'm sitting the cups on is a 24 cavity mold that I purchased from Temu, and that will give me consistent little shapes. I've also got some smaller molds dotted around for any excess resin, just to make sure that I'm able to use all of it. So these pigments are made in Australia, and they are perfect for both epoxy resin and also polyurethane resin. And they come in different viscosities. You'll notice as soon as you start using a couple of different colours, but that is just due to what makes up that particular colour. So some are thicker than others, and they are light fast and very intense, so a little goes a long way. So I go through and I make some colour swatches for all 7 of these classic colours. Lots and lots of extras, which is cute because you can always use those in the future in different projects. And then about, just trying to think, it was the next day, I am ready to demold the pieces. So I have demolded all the extras there on the right. And look, I'm really loving, this is the chartreuse I'm just putting down. Chartreuse green, beautiful. And there's our blue and red, and it is a lovely red. Our bright yellow, and then of course our carbon black, and up the top left we've got our cotton candy and titanium white. So now I can see these colours. It's given me a much better idea on what I could actually make with them. In a recent Temu order, I unboxed some temporary tattoos, so the bumblebee and the raven, and they gave me a really strong idea. So the bottom tray with the circle divider in it, I'm going to create in the titanium white and carbon black. And I'm going to add this temporary tattoo. I think it'll be very striking. So that one is going there. And then the top is a bowl, and I'm going to use the bright yellow and make this a honeybee bowl. And I think that should work out really well. So with any temporary tattoo, the key is to make sure that it fits into the space you are looking at using. Sometimes you need to trim it down. And then when you've got it to the correct size, you are going to remove the protective sheet, place it face down, in this case onto the silicone mould, and then wet the back with a damp sponge. And you make sure that you've got all of it dampened down, and then you'll just notice it starts to move slightly, and when that happens, that is when you can remove the backing paper and your tattoo is there. You do need to ensure that this silicone mould is completely dry before you start working with resin. So I just normally go on with something else and let them air dry naturally. Okay, now our next colour that I'm going to be working with is the ocean blue, and I'm going to be using this little trinket tray, and I've got these little tiny, they're like goldfish or koi fish in, I'm presuming plastic or resin, and they're very, very teeny tiny. And I've decided I'm going to try and create a tray with a little river running through it with these little koi fish. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to pick out all of the ones that are the colours that I'm wanting to work with. So I'm going to be looking for clear and blue. Using the Solid Solutions UV resin, I make myself a little river, and then I'm going to add in the little fish pieces, and I'm just going to run a little curvy line of the blue, and then I'm going to add in a similar line of the clear, and then I'm going to cure that using a UV light. And then I'm also making sure that I'm placing these upside down so that when you look at it from the top, after it's cured, you will see the fish from the top down. I also added in some cellophane in a blue colour just to add a little bit of sparkle. I also go in and add quite a few extra little bits and pieces to this tray, including some mica powder that I dot over the tray just to give a little bit of texture and added interest. And then I also use some more of the cellophane shards to create a little edge that I'm hoping will be really pretty. And I'm going to use some more UV resin and make some little sort of dots and circles all over the tray like little raindrops. So there's an awful lot going on with this tray way before we even get to pouring the resin with that beautiful ocean blue pigment paste. But we'll see. Oh yes, we'll see. While that's cooling down after using the UV resin lamp, I'm going to start on the beautiful bumblebee little pot, and I'm using bright yellow, and I'm going to mix up 3 different blends. So the first one is just straight bright yellow. The second one, I'm using just the teeniest little amount, so this will be a very pretty pale lemon. And then the third cup, I'm going to be using from Just Resin the Midas Touch Glitter Dust, and this is a super fine powder and it gives the most lush gold effect. I pop a little bit into each of the other cups as well, just to tie all three colours together. And then I'm just going to pour these using just a random pattern. Basically, I want it to be blends of the three different colours, and I just want the resin to do whatever it feels like doing, which is convenient because that's what resin generally does. So I'm really hoping at the end we get this gorgeous, highly sort of textured and shaded combination of the yellows and the golds. So I think it should be pretty, especially with that beautiful temporary tattoo. Okay, after I've done this one, I'm going to go back now to our trinket tray on the left that we've been working on, which is going to be the blue one. I'm going to be doing an almost identical technique with this tray, except this time I'm using the beautiful ocean blue. So I'm going to go for a solid blue colour, very similar to the sample that I made. Then I'm going to create a much lighter, paler blue. And then I'm going to use the beautiful Snow White from Just Resin, which is a gorgeous pure white glitter dust. I'm going to add a little bit to each of the pots, but then I'm also going to make up a little pot of its own. And then I'm going to just drizzle those colours onto the trinket tray, trying to keep in mind where I've got the little river of the fish showing, and hopefully giving us a really, really pretty background. Now I've been looking forward to this one. This is going to be the black and white trinket tray with the raven image on it. And so I'm just mixing up one batch of white and one batch of black. So the titanium white and carbon black. And for this one, I'm just going to be very mindful of where I place the white. So where the raven temporary tattoo is, I can't afford to have any black really behind that because it just won't show. So I'm going to try and get a white section right sort of swizzled across through that, and then I'll be able to put the black around it. And I've just added in a teeny tiny little bit of that snowflake white, and I'm also making up just a teeny little batch of that on its own, just to add a little bit of extra interest. And so, as I mentioned, I'm going to be really focusing on going over that raven with white, making sure that that's what is behind it. And then next to that, I'm putting this beautiful sparkly mixture, and then I'll start layering black, and then sparkle, white, sparkle, and so on. So it's a very simple technique, but it can be really effective. Next up, I'm going to be using cotton candy, and there was only ever one mould that I considered for this, and it's very stereotypical. I wanted a little pink pig. So I'm going to just use one colour, solid all the way through, and make up this cute little pig. Not very difficult. And I felt the same about the chartreuse green. As soon as I saw that colour, I knew I wanted to make a pair of capybaras. Now you might be thinking, why would you want a pair of chartreuse green capybaras? Well, why not? I just know from previous experience that these molds are super shiny, and I thought that this colour would look very pretty. And so because I've got a large and a small, I've mixed up an extra little batch here just so I've got enough for all of them, and I think that colour is just gorgeous. It's a beautiful mix of like a yellow and green, and oh, did you catch what I just did? I'm pretty annoyed at myself. It took ages to clean up. I had to re-pour the chartreuse, and it just felt like it took forever. Anyway, on to our last colour now, which is the red. And I'm going to be using this heart-shaped trinket box. This was from Resin Mold Box, and I'm using the red pigment paste along with some holographic gold glitter, and I'm also going to use a little bit of Elmer's glue because I want the glitter to remain suspended throughout the mixture. And then I'm going to set these aside to cure. The whole time I've been pouring these main pieces, I've also had an additional workspace to the side that I've been using for leftover resin. So I'm going to go ahead and demold these pieces now. So I did just make some more little discs with the various colours that I had spare, and I really love the red and gold ones. I think they will look super cute with some Christmas decorations on them. I've got some super pretty ocean blue hearts, which will be for perhaps fridge magnets or keychains. I have got a little peacock, and then I poured several of these ovals because these make really cute fridge magnets, and you can just always use them. I have quite a lot of these little oval molds. Now, with some of the leftover yellow from our honeybee pot, I've got this dear little seashell or conch shell trinket dish, and then with the blue and some of the white, I made this gorgeous bowl mold. Now, this was also from Resin Mold Box in their Christmas set, and it's just gorgeous. I love how I was able to get the rim of that a different colour. And then I've also got a little pussycat, which is super cute. And then lastly, I had a little duck. I do like using that little duck mould. So there we go. Now it's time to have a look at the main pieces. And the first piece, well, it was meant to be blue, wasn't it? But it's blue and chartreuse green because I tipped over the capybara molds, which are now in paper cups, by the way. That's quite a good way of helping stabilise molds that are top heavy. Okay, so I'm somewhat embarrassed to show you this. It is nothing like what I was hoping. It is really awful. The blue's super pretty. I don't have a problem with the blue and the other colours, but none of the little extra features I put into it either show up or look good. So we'll come back to that one. Now let's have a look at the black and white one. So this is using the titanium white and the carbon black, and I do have a little bit of overspill there to clean up. and oh my goodness, I just love it. Remember I said I wanted to have white behind the bird, and that has worked perfectly. So extremely happy with that one. I think it's just so pretty, front and back actually. It's just gorgeous. Be very striking on a really stylish, bathroom countertop or dressing table. Okay, so here is the heart trinket box that I did with the red, and I did add a little bit of gold to it. Now I'm just trying to think. I don't think I've ever really successfully cast this mold. I don't know why. I think it's perhaps just me not spending enough time on it. The bottom, which is the piece that I'm demolding now, usually comes out perfectly, and so this is looking pretty good. But then the top part, which is this solid piece, has got a couple of air bubbles that have left holes, one on each side in the lid area. So it's a shame, and I just haven't had a lot of success with that mold. That sometimes happens. You get a mold that's your your arch nemesis, and I'll have to think of a way of covering that up or repairing it. So now I'm going to have a look at the pink pig mold, and I can see straight away that there are some bubbles at the base, and that is very common with a mold like this. The air gets trapped, and I will need to, when I'm casting that again, pay a little bit more attention to letting the air degas from that lower level. And similar with the capybaras, but I am so in love with these. They are gorgeous. I love capybaras, and I love the fact that these are a really sort of a whimsical chartreuse green, which is not, your average capybara. So I'm definitely in love with that colour, that pigment paste. The chartreuse green is just beautiful. Now let's have a little look at our honeybee mold. And oh, I love it. It is just gorgeous. The colour is just so beautiful. It's a combination of that bright yellow with a little lemon, and it's just magical. Very happy. Well, now everything's demolded, here comes the fun part for me. I'm going to go through and add some different decals and stickers, transfers to these pieces to give them a bit of life and brighten them up. And so the first thing I'm doing is I'm using this UV DTF transfer, and I'm popping it onto that black oval, and it's a Scottish Highland cow with blowing bubble gum, and of course, why not? I just think that is so super cute. Now, the next two ovals are each going to get two little Aussie animals, and the first ones I think are quokkas, and the second ones I think are bush babies. And so these again are UV DTF decals, and so you apply them by taking off the back layer and revealing the stickiness, and then once you've adhered them down, you then peel off the protective layer, and you've got them sitting there. Now, my blue tray, I found these cute butterfly stickers. I bought them from Kmart in Australia a long time ago, and I think they were on a clearance for like $1 or something, and they just looked perfect. So I'm using these to cover up the biggest of my not that well thought through parts, the fish and the bubbles and everything, and I think that looks pretty. Now, these little circles with the red with that little bit of gold glitter. These are going to get some little Christmas pussycat UV DTFs, and this is going to be for magnets, and I love these. I think they're so pretty. These are some of the ones that I designed myself. I found some images on Creative Fabrica and then sized them and had them completely custom printed for me. Now, these are so cute, but I wrecked the first one. And so when you apply UV DTF stickers, they are very firmly adhered, and I was not going to be getting that one off anytime soon. I will get it off fairly easily. I think if I use perhaps some gentle heat or maybe even solvent. So for the moment, let's pretend we had 3. And these ones are super cute from that same batch I mentioned. And these are Less Talk, More Coffee. And I've done this before where you've got one that has the little hole in it. If you don't want to use that as a keychain or a bag tag, you can just adhere that decal over it. So these are a whole range that I did, and it's so cute to be able to go through and just choose whatever I want and pop them on there. And I'm loving these. They're so pretty. Once they've all been decorated, it is time to use the Solid Solutions UV resin to seal them into place. And just as you would with any other UV resin top coat, I just go around them, make sure I've got plenty of UV resin on there so I don't have any little empty patches. I use a little toothpick just to drag the resin to the edges, and I usually only do a couple at a time as well. I find if I do any more than that, I run the risk of the resin starting to go over the edge, or I might bump them and things like that. So for me, it's much better to do them in small batches. And I then cure them under my LED lamp. And then once they've cooled down, I check them. And if they feel pretty good, I just give them one final blast and they are done. And here I'm just using a little butane torch to heat up that resin, which pops any bubbles that you might have on the top, because I do want these to be super glossy and shiny. I go through and do all of those smaller pieces that are going to become fridge magnets, and now it's time to finish off the 3 larger pieces. So this tray is needing to have a top coat of resin on it because I've just added those stickers, and so I'm just giving it a fairly fine coat. I still want it to be able to be used as a trinket tray, and I just make sure I move all of that resin around, covering all of it, run over it with the little torch, and halfway through this I remember I do have a silicone brush, which is going to be a much better option for me to use for the trinket trays and dishes. So that made things quite a lot easier. And the beauty about these is that you cure them under the UV lamp at the same time as you do your actual pieces, and that's how you clean them up. So very easy to do. I'm struggling here a little bit. I remember it was nighttime and I was trying to make sure there were no little parts where the resin had shrunk and moved away, and sometimes it's hard to see. You need to turn them around and check from different angles. So if you know, you know. Next up is our little raven trinket tray, and again just using this little silicone brush to move the UV resin around, get a nice thin coating over it which will protect the temporary tattoo and make it a very hard wearing piece of home decor. Last but certainly not least is our little honeybee trinket dish, and I just do exactly the same with this, making sure that I get the resin right up to the edges before curing. I'm absolutely thrilled with these beautiful pigment pastes from Solid Solutions and highly recommend them. I love the size of the jars, I love their price, and I can't wait to show you in 2 future videos the metallic range and the fluorescent range as well. And if you do go onto the Solid Solutions site, you have got a discount code from me as I'm an affiliate with them, and it is Blossy Bee. And of course, I'll put all of that information into the description box below. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. It means a great deal to me that you are enjoying watching my videos and that you're interacting with me in the comments, and it brings me a lot of joy. It is Christmas Eve here in Tasmania as I'm recording this tonight, and so I would like to take the opportunity, if you celebrate Christmas, I hope you have an absolutely wonderful time. To those of you who don't celebrate Christmas, perhaps enjoy a well-deserved break from work. I hope it is wonderfully relaxing and safe for you. So I look forward to seeing you in my next video, and please feel free to let me know which was your favourite colour in the comments, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.